Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. I got to cover New Jersey today. Bad news in New Jersey. Spoiler alert, surplus funds are going to dry up a bit in New Jersey over the next year or two. Let me explain why. Early 2024, Governor Murphy passed a law, Community Wealth Preservation Program. Look it up. Please Google it. There'll be more in-depth information. There's a lot of articles on it. Of course, everybody's rah-rahing it and say it's a great program. Well, the gist of it, there's quite a bit to it. I'm going to cover the highlights here and what I perceive to be the problems and why I think this law will be struck down in the next year or two. Okay? First of all, they are giving, at the foreclosure, the first right of refusal to buy the property at the opening bid, whatever debt's against it. Okay? Not even bidding against anybody. They can just pay whatever the opening bid is. They're allowing the tenants in the property to do that, and they're allowing next of kin to do that, as well as the owner, but the owner had the right to redeem pretty much anyway, okay? That's just a throwaway in that bill. But they're allowing next of kin, a brother, whatever, a parent, to go ahead and purchase the property at what's owed against it at the foreclosure. And nobody, they don't have to bid against anybody. Okay? They're also allowing the tenant, if there's a tenant in there, to do the same thing. If they do that, if they buy it, if their next of kin buys it, they have to rent it to the owner for a reduced, like a lower end rental on that, which isn't going to matter because you're getting the house for sometimes 10% of the value of the property. What do they care? But they also have to fix it up to make it livable if that is something that needs to be done. The tenant will have to also, well, they'd get the property for a reduced value, obviously, for just the opening bid, and they could simply go forward and stay in the property. Now, the problem with that, there's a million problems with this law, but let me start with this. So the problem with that is they also give the tenant or the next of kin 90 days to come up with that purchase price, that debt, as long as they have a pre-qualification letter from a bank. Well, I'm going to tell you guys something. Getting a pre-qual letter from a bank is easy, and you can do it online with Rocket Money or whatever. You know, you can get it on all these different ways. You can get a pre-qual letter where it looks on the surface you're okay, but as soon as they dig into your credit or your monthlies, really dig into it, look at your whatever's going on with debt, they can deny that loan. So you're going to, first of all, you're going to see a lot of stutter stepping here. You're going to see a lot of, boom, up, sold, no, ooh, 3 months later, it didn't sell. This guy didn't come up with the money, so it's going to pop back on the market. You can see a lot of that. That's the first part of the problem. There's three main problems here. The second problem here is they give community development corporations, non-profit community development corporations, the right to have second right of refusal. So if you don't have next to kin or a tenant buying it, these nonprofit community development corporations can buy it at the opening bid. Now, hey, I understand nonprofits can't then flip the property. They're not buying property for profit. They're not allowed to do that, guys. However, they can transfer that property into another nonprofit, which I see in that instance. I know there's $100,000, $500,000 fines. There's deed restrictions. Can't sell it for 7 years anyway. There's also a 30-year deed restriction. But if you think that there's not going to be these guys opening up these nonprofits and then transferring, no money transferred into another nonprofit, and maybe that other nonprofit does an under the table, or even an individual in that nonprofit does an under the table payment to the person that had the other nonprofit. You don't think that's going to happen? You are really naive. That's going to happen a lot. There's going to, even with the $100,000 fine and then $500,000 fine for anything thereafter, that's going to happen a lot. Okay, you're going to have guys buying other guys' Ferraris. You're going to have all kinds of crazy stuff going on there. You just are. I mean, if the lawmakers aren't anticipating that, they're naive and or they don't care. The other part I've got with this is what people don't understand is the buy and hold guys are looking at this going, wait a minute, I'm buying property so that I can accumulate enough property where I can pay myself a really good salary. I'm going to sit on it. even if I make $300 a property, if I normally, okay, let's say these guys are making $300 a month in property, but they've got 100 of them, so that's $30,000 a month. So if they're a nonprofit, they can't take profit, right? They can take a big salary. They can take $250,000 a year if they want and hire one office staff person to handle taking care of the property. Now, do they have to fix it up? Yes, to make it livable and all that. But who cares if they're buying the property? This nonprofit is buying the property at $100,000 and it's worth $400,000. And good luck finding, by the way, anything worth $400,000 or less in New Jersey, okay? But if you don't think people are going to be buying that in order to create salaries for themselves through a nonprofit, you are really naive. In addition, I do think there's going to be transfers of that to other nonprofits where the nonprofit is actually going to merge with the other one, and there's going to be an under-the-table dollar amount being sent. All that's horrible stuff. Here's the worst part. Constitution has a deed of taking. You cannot take something from someone and not compensate them fair value for the property. Now, foreclosures are great because the market determines. That's fair value. What does it sell for at a foreclosure, right? So it's determined by that. So, of course, that's fine. But you had states like Michigan that recently lost a Supreme Court case because they were keeping the overage and therefore the owner wasn't getting full compensation for the value of the property. Same thing here. Look, you're making end runs around a final bid being put in that's market value. So that owner, regardless of what you might say, oh, he's getting to rent it later for a reduced rate. He still lost the house. He should be compensated for that, right? And then you're saying, oh, well, it's a nonprofit and they have to rent. If they can't rent to the owner, they have to rent to somebody at a reduced rate. Isn't that great? It's affordable housing. Well, yeah, the only reason they're able to do that, to rent it for a reduced rate, is because they just bought a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 house for $100,000 and their payments are nothing and they're making a lot of money every month. For the nonprofit, I get it, right? For the nonprofit. In addition, one final point here, besides the fact that the main point is the owners are getting screwed. This is going to go to the Supreme Court and they're going to lose. This is going to get struck down, okay? But the other issue that I see with this is how many times have you dealt with family members that don't get along? You don't think the brother's going to step in that hates that guy and go, oh, I'm going to get this property for 100 instead of 300, and I'm going to get my brother's going to have to pay me rent, even if it's a reduced rate. I'm going to get the property, and he's going to have to pay me a reduced rate. Now, look, deed restrictions, got to hold it for 7 years, and then there's another 30-year restriction. I get it, right? The guy can't just flip it. There's a lot of buy and hold people out there. There's a lot of people willing to wait 7 to 30 years if they can get a large asset for a third of the value, for a third of the price. Comment, tell me what you think, guys. Am I completely off base with this? I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of surplus funds coming in anymore because people are going to be able to buy the property for the debt, for the opening bid, and that's it. Disagree with me? Comment. Guys, if you think it's good, comment. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate you taking a look. Have a great day.